Hey again. All right, so another lab video. So this is information that you'll need to know so that you can identify structures on the lab portion of the test. I've broken up the endocrine lab into two parts. One is going to be the organs, kind of the gross anatomy. So this one's going to be the gross anatomy, so using models and diagrams. The other one's going to be the histology. Okay, so there are two, so make sure you're watching both the endocrine histology and this lab as well, because it's I didn't want to make one big long video, so I broke it into two parts. Hopefully more manageable than a long hour-long video. Okay, so the endocrine organs that you need to identify on the models are most of the ones that you're learning about. If you're learning about the endocrine system, then we've covered most of these. You're going to learn the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, heart, pancreas, the adrenal gland, the kidney, ovary, and testes. So you can write these down, and that way you know that these are the organs that I expect you to find on a model. Okay? So this is a cross-section of the brain, and so hopefully, again, a lot of 202, some of this stuff is going to be a lot of review from what you had in your first anatomy, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Hopefully you recognize this is a cross-section of the brain. This is the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brain stem. Yeah, you guys remember that? No. Okay, so the three endocrine organs, the things that make hormones that are found in the brain, the hypothalamus, which is this W-shaped structure. So you have your hypothalamus, and then it's connected by, I'm going to write that down, hypothalamus. Okay. Then you have a stalk known as an infundibulum. You need to remember that, infundibulum, that connects the hypothalamus to the pituitary gland. Okay, you don't have to recognize anterior versus posterior pituitary on the model. You will with histology. So hypothalamus, the W-shaped structure that's kind of in the mid, just beneath the thalamus. This is the thalamus of the brain. And then the pituitary is connected to it by an infundibulum. The other gland is the pineal gland, and it's this little gland right here. So if you find the little pink hair, look for that little bulb right there, and that's your pineal. I'll spell that for you. Okay, so your pineal gland. Those are the three in the brain. I'm going to do these from superior to inferior to kind of keep them in order, and it should be the very similar way that I'm going to talk about it when I do the histology lab as well. All right, so the next one is your thyroid gland. So here's the chin, the mental region, okay? So I have this butterfly-shaped organ, this bilobed organ called the thyroid. And so I know that's on the neck because this is my larynx, this is my trachea, so that tells me that this is the thyroid. This is a posterior view, so on the back side of the thyroid, you have your parathyroids, and they're embedded into the back side of the thyroid gland. So name this organ thyroid, name these organs parathyroid. Another endocrine organ is also the immune organ, but it's also an endocrine organ. This is the thymus. Okay, so you have the thymus on this particular model. Again, if you find a heart and there's something glandular that's near it, that's going to be the thymus. A lot of people get the thymus and the thyroid confused. The thymus is over the heart. The thyroid is just below the larynx. Okay, so don't get those two confused. Here's a close-up view. Obviously, here's a lung, and so hopefully that will let you know that that's the heart between the lungs, and so this glandular-like structure over the heart, again, is the thymus. Now, don't forget, the heart is also an endocrine organ. It makes something called ANP, atrial natriuretic factor. So the heart's fair game. I could say, name this organ because it is an endocrine organ, and so hopefully you recognize the heart at this point in your education, I hope. All right, another endocrine organ. We've got several in this particular picture. We have the pancreas. Okay, this is the pancreas. It's kind of it looks like corn to me. I always tell my students, look for the thing that looks like corn. It's glandular, so this is the pancreas. We're going to do the pancreas again when we get to digestion because it's actually an endocrine and an exocrine organ. It plays a role in making hormones, but it also plays a role in making digestive stuff for digestion. So it actually does two things. So the pancreas is an endocrine organ. Here we have cut away, we've taken a section of the digestive system out of the model, and so you can see the pancreas here. And on this model, I want to point out these two structures. These are the adrenal glands. Okay, so those are also endocrine organs. So I'm going to write that down. Adrenal. So renal means kidney, so here's your kidneys. Ad means kind of above, so above the kidneys are your adrenal glands. So you can see 3 different endocrine organs in this particular picture. So yes, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's one on the left, one on the right side. Again, here's another picture where we've kind of separated it out. So if you see some small intestine, hopefully you recognize the duodenum or duodenum of the small intestine. You recognize the spleen. Then this organ between the spleen and the duodenum or duodenum is the pancreas. I'm just trying to give you as many options and figures as I can because we have a ton of models, and so I want to give you as many as I can to let you prepare for the exam. Again, here's that heart again. We have their adrenal glands here and here. So we've pulled out the pancreas, we've pulled out the stomach, the small and large intestine. We're looking retroperitoneal, the back part of the abdomen, and you can see the adrenal glands. Do you remember which one's left and which one's right? Remember anatomical left and right? So this is the right side, this is the left side. So again, when you're answering questions, always tell me if it's left or right, especially if I ask you. It's always a good idea to add that anyway. You know, you can never give me too much information. So unless it specifically says don't tell me left or right, I always assume you should tell me left or right if there's 2 structures. Obviously there's just one spleen, so no left or right there. All right, so a close-up view of the adrenal glands. Here we have the inferior vena cava, we have the abdominal aorta, here's our kidney, here's a kidney, so these would be the adrenal glands. Now the adrenal gland is actually 2 glands kind of put together. So you have an adrenal cortex and you have an adrenal medulla. All right, or the medullary area, or the cortical region versus the medullary area. So if you think about the adrenal gland being like a pyramid, and if you cut and look inside, the outside, this yellow area, is the adrenal cortex, and then the inside is the adrenal medulla. So think back to the brain. So you had the outside of the brain was the cerebral cortex, the inside, the gray matter, the white matter was this cerebral medulla, or the cerebellum. You had the arbor vitae, which was the white matter, which was the cerebellar medulla, and the brown stuff around it, the gray matter, was the cerebellar cortex. So the outside of an organ is the cortex, the inside is the medulla. So on the adrenal gland, it's actually 2 organs, the adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla. So be sure, if I just point to the organ, I say name this organ, that would be adrenal gland. But if I take an image like this, I may be more specific. So you would need to say adrenal cortex or adrenal medulla, depending on where the arrow is pointing. Okay, so some really major endocrine organs have to do with the male and female structures, the ovaries and the testes. So this is a female sagittal cut. So hopefully you remember a little bit from what you learned in 201. Here's the female bladder, here's the female uterus, and so here we have the ovary, okay? And here's the section where we've pulled out just the reproductive tract. This is the uterus, these are your fallopian or uterine tubes, and these are the ovaries. So make sure you can recognize the ovaries on the model. And then in the male, here we have the penis, and here we have the testis. All right, so which is going to be enclosed inside a sac called the scrotum. So be able to recognize the testis as well. I think that's it. Yep, I've gone from top to bottom. So again, so just take these images and think about all the endocrine organs that you've learned about, and make sure that you can identify them either on a diagram or one of our models. Okay, thank you very much. See you next time.